Good morning. It's Monday, April 5th. I'm NASA's Leah Cheshire. You're looking at a live view of the Dragon Resilient spacecraft as we await its departure from one docking port on the International Space Station to another in what we refer to as a port relocation. Dragon will be moving from International Docking Adapter 2, or IDA 2, on the Forward Harmony port to IDA 3 on the Zenith, or Space-Facing Harmony port, in order to prepare for the arrival of a new crew and the upcoming delivery of new solar arrays this summer. We expect Dragon to push away from the space station with NASA astronauts Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, and Shannon Walker, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi.
Megan, for the lighting and the MPEG streamer for whatever camera you guys are streaming, and then also visually, because it's dark, it's going to be close to impossible to verify visual separation. I can do this by essentially interpolating where the lit windows are, and once those start moving, but I don't have actual visual on the camera, and you guys probably don't either, to the docking interface separation from the vehicle.
Copy all, Kate. We do anticipate that during separation it will be daylight, so your visual should be better by then.
All right, thank you. Good to know.
Teams on the ground communicating with Kate Rubins aboard the International Space Station, who will be monitoring today's undocking from the station side. But these four astronauts, Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, and Shannon Walker, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Soichi Noguchi, are on board the Crew Dragon and will depart at 5:30 a.m. Central Time, 10:30 GMT. Joining me from SpaceX in Hawthorne this morning to walk you through everything is Andy Tran. Hey, Andy.
Hey, Leah, and good morning to everyone. I'm Andy Tran here from SpaceX. It is an exciting morning. This will be the first port relocation of a Crew Dragon spacecraft. At this point, the crew is suited. Both the Dragon and APAS hatches have been closed, and the vestibule leak checks are almost complete. There are 4 seats configured right now inside of Dragon and are numbered 1 to 4 from right to left. When looking at the seats, Mike is in seat number 2, or the commander seat. He is the person closest to the camera on screen right now. And Victor is beside him in seat number 3, which for Crew Dragon is the pilot seat. Soichi is in seat number 1, and Shannon is in seat 4. We are waiting for a go, no-go for departure, which we are expecting at 5:15 a.m. Central Time, or 10:15 GMT. Once Dragon pushes away from the station, the full maneuver will last approximately 45 minutes. And while Dragon is just moving parking spots, the crew and vehicle have undergone all of the same checkouts and preparations as if they were getting ready to return to Earth. That way, in the unlikely event that we see an off-nominal scenario, the crew and vehicle are prepared to deorbit and return safely home.
Before we go into greater detail on what's involved in the port relocation process, everything has moved very smoothly this morning, so let's recap what's already happened. The crew woke up at 1 Central Time, 6 GMT, and you're seeing right now a live view inside SpaceX Mission Control in Hawthorne, California. We're in a current satellite handover with our TDRS, our tracking data and relay satellite systems. These are tracked and monitored, and we expect to regain communications with the station and Crew Dragon shortly. But more about what the crew members have been up to so far this morning. At 2:55 Central, 7:55 GMT, crew members Shannon Walker and Soichi Noguchi suited up before boarding Crew Dragon, while Victor Glover and Mike Hopkins waited until they finished closing Dragon's hatch before donning their suits. At 3:10, the 4 astronauts boarded Dragon for the port relocation maneuver, and at 3:26 Central, 8:26 GMT, the crew closed Dragon's hatch. Hopkins and Glover then put on those SpaceX spacesuits, which will be worn throughout today's maneuver. Once they finished suiting up, all 4 crew members performed leak checks on their suits. Once Dragon's hatch was closed, Kate Rubins affixed a docking target to the outside of the APAS hatch and then closed it, creating a space between Dragon and station known as the vestibule. Kate then made her way out of the pressurized mating adapter, leaving the forward hatch on node 2 open but ensuring the Zenith hatch is closed. She'll monitor the relocate maneuver from the cupola. Once all hatches were closed, a ground command was sent to open valves on the Dragon to begin depressurizing the vestibule at 3:57 Central, 8:57 GMT. This essentially vents the air from inside and brings it down close to a vacuum. They paused at approximately 5 psi for a few minutes to allow temperatures inside the vestibule to stabilize before continuing with that depressurization.
And that brings us up to speed with the events of the day. From this point forward, here is what to expect. At 5:15 Central Time or 10:15 GMT, teams in Mission Control Houston and Mission Control at SpaceX in Hawthorne do a joint go-no-go for undocking. About 10 minutes later, a undocking command will be sent, followed by a few minutes for the two umbilicals that connect power and data between the two spacecraft to detach, and for 12 hooks holding Dragon in place to retract. At 5:30 Central Time, after the hooks have retracted, Dragon will fire its thrusters in two short bursts to break the stiction between it and the docking port and physically separate from the station. Dragon will begin to slowly back off from the station and activate its LiDAR, and that happens in that blue section that you see on screen right now. LiDAR stands for Light Detection and Ranging, and it helps to begin tracking the space station. Once it acquires a solid signal, the ground will command Dragon to hold approximately 60 meters away from the station. And once everything looks good, Dragon will begin to move from in front of the station to above it, and that is the relocation maneuver or transition maneuver in the orange portion of the graphic that you see on screen. At about 5:38 Central Time, Dragon begins its maneuver towards the zenith port of Harmony and International Docking Adapter number 3. We expect Dragon to take about 15 minutes to make the trip above the station, with a check-in halfway at what you'll hear called the midpoint. It will stop and hold once it's 60 meters above the Node 2 zenith port and prepare for final approach in that purple section.
And once we reach that area, flight controllers in Hawthorne will once again command Dragon to begin its approach, flying in until it reaches waypoint 2, which is just 20 meters away from the station. Once Dragon reaches 20 meters, it will hold one final time for teams on the ground and the astronauts aboard Dragon to do a final check before docking. If everything continues to go on schedule today, we expect to see that around 6:07 Central, 11:07 GMT. There aren't any strict requirements to complete docking during a day or night pass, but there's always the chance this hold could continue until the lighting conditions on the docking port are ideal. And once ready, Dragon will begin that final approach. Dragon will make initial contact with IDA-3 and its soft-capture system will retract to bring the Dragon spacecraft in closer for hard capture. That's accomplished by deploying 12 hooks to firmly hold Dragon in place and takes about 15 minutes. After that, we will wrap up our coverage for the day.
After all docking events are successful, flight controllers will configure Dragon for docked operations, connecting power and data to the spacecraft once more. The crew will be able to get out of their spacesuits and set them up to dry and begin operations to get the hatches back open. This includes pressurizing the vestibule and a new round of leak checks. Depending on the exact timing, they have the option to have lunch inside Dragon or wait until back aboard the station. And we expect it to take about 2 hours before the hatches open, around 8:30 Central Time or 13:30 GMT.
Today marks the 140th day on station for this crew, who lifted off from Kennedy Space Center on November 15th at 7:49 p.m. Eastern. Following a 27-and-a-half-hour trip to the station, Dragon's hatch was opened around 4 a.m. Eastern on November 16th. So far, the crew members have dedicated hundreds of hours to scientific research in the orbiting laboratory and have completed 5 spacewalks, finishing battery upgrades, connecting the Bartolomeo Science Platform, and preparing the station for new solar arrays that will launch later this year on the SpaceX Cargo Dragon spacecraft. This is the first of 6 certified crew missions NASA and SpaceX planned as a part of the agency's commercial crew program.
As mentioned earlier, the relocation will free up Harmony's forward port for docking of another Crew Dragon vehicle set to carry 4 crew members to the station on NASA's SpaceX Crew-2 mission. NASA astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur, JAXA astronauts Aki Hoshide, and European Space Agency astronaut Thomas Pesquet are scheduled to launch to the station Thursday, April 22nd, which just also happens to be Earth Day. They would arrive and dock to the station about 1 day after liftoff.
When the Crew-1 astronauts depart the station for return to Earth, which is currently targeted for April 28, the space-facing port of Harmony will be vacant. A Dragon cargo spacecraft carrying several tons of supplies and the first set of new solar arrays for the space station is scheduled to launch this summer and requires the space-facing port position to enable robotic extraction of the arrays from Dragon's trunk using Canadarm2.
For those just joining us, we are currently waiting the go, no-go call for departure of the Dragon Resilient spacecraft to push itself away from the International Space Station. We are expecting SpaceX and NASA to make that call around 5:15 a.m. Central Time. On screen right now is that Dragon Resilient spacecraft connected to International Docking Adapter 2. Once Dragon undocks, it will undergo an approximately 45-minute maneuver from one port to another. And while Dragon is a fully autonomous vehicle and can perform this port relocation maneuver all on its own, today our crew will be initiating a couple of commands along the way on those displays that were previously on screen. There are no technical reasons why the crew has to command anything, but the crew wanted to basically test drive the vehicle today, so to speak. The plan for future flights is that ground will send all of the commands and crew will just be monitoring Dragon's progress along the way. So for the maneuver today, you'll hear a couple of calls from the core in Hawthorne to the crew, giving them a go to send several commands, permitting Dragon to move through different checkpoints. Again, we are about 3 minutes away from the expected call from SpaceX and NASA for departure of Dragon Resilient spacecraft.
And good news here in Houston, the team in Mission Control Houston for the International Space Station is go.
On the big loop. Final reconfigurations for undock are complete and nominal. The ground is go for undocking at the targeted undock sequence start time of 1025 UTC. Please confirm your visors are down and you are ready for undock and port relocation at the planned time.
And SpaceX from Dragon, copy, go for the undock. Visors are secure and closed.
Copy all.
Station Houston on 2 for Kate. Perform steps 2 through end in 1.602. Dragon departure monitoring.
Copy steps 2 through N in 1.602, Dragon departure monitoring. ISS crew is ready for Dragon undocking at 1025.
Copy all.
That's good news from the ground side here today. Both SpaceX and Mission Control Houston teams reporting that they are go for today's undock and that everything looks good with the systems aboard Crew Dragon and the International Space Station for a successful maneuver. Things continue to move along right on time, and we expect to see that departure beginning at 5:30 a.m. Central.
Preparation for this port relocation has taken place for weeks, but yesterday teams checked out Dragon systems preparing for today's departure, including the Common Communications for Visiting Vehicle Systems, or C2V2, a data stream from Crew Dragon to the station. At around 5:20 a.m. Central Time, we are expecting the call for vestibule to press to be completed just a few minutes from now. And SpaceX performed a checkout of Dragon's propulsion systems and guidance navigation control, as well as checked out the Crew Dragon's seat actuators. In the afternoon, the SpaceX team tested the tracking data and relay satellite system, or TDRS, on the spacecraft, and that allows space-to-ground communication.
A little more about the preparations prior to today. Yesterday, Shannon Walker also spent some time removing computers from Dragon that have been stored in the spacecraft but are used on the station. Soichi Noguchi continued that work this morning, and prior to boarding Crew Dragon, Glover and Walker worked to remove any emergency hardware inside Crew Dragon, transferring that to the station side. Mike Hopkins, of course, packed away at the sleep station where he has been staying inside Crew Dragon during its journey to the space station. As you can see, it is daylight outside the space station. It moves at approximately 17,500 miles around the Earth, meaning it sees a sunrise or a sunset every 45 minutes. And as we heard the Capcom discussing with Kate Rubins, they expect the undocking to occur in daylight, so we should get some good views here of Crew Dragon departing IDA-2.
For those just joining us, we are just beginning the mission, so to speak, of the Crew Dragon relocation from International Docking Adapter 2 to the space-facing Port International Docking Adapter 3 to make room for the next crew vehicle that will be launched. We're targeting April 22nd. And we just a few minutes ago, we got the confirmation for a go of undocking. And as Leah mentioned, we're expecting that to happen in a few minutes here.
April is quite a busy month aboard the International Space Station. Coming up this Friday, we have the next launch to the station. That's Soyuz MS-18 with one NASA astronaut, Mark Vande Hei, and two Roscosmos cosmonauts, Oleg Novitsky and Pyotr Dubrov, heading toward the International Space Station. And once they arrive, we will have 10 crew members on the station. That won't be for too long, though, because on April 16th, Kate Rubins, Sergei Ryzhikov, and Sergei Kutsverchkov will depart aboard their Soyuz MS-17. However, on April 22nd, Crew 2 will launch. That's Megan MacArthur, Shane Kimbrough, Thomas Pesquet, and Akihiko Hoshide. And then on April 28th, Crew 1, the crew that we are watching today on board Crew Dragon, will depart the space station, but this time for Earth. That's Mike Hopkins, Victor Glover, Shannon Walker, and Soichi Noguchi. However, today is just a field trip outside the orbiting laboratory, moving from one parking spot to another to allow for Crew 2 to arrive on April 22nd, as well as that Crew Cargo Dragon to arrive later this year with those solar arrays.
And on screen right now is a view of the crew inside of Dragon and their displays. Again, they will be sending a few commands today during the port relocation. And there's Dragon attached to International Docking Adapter 2. A little bit about the upgraded Dragon vehicle. Dragon 1 to dock required berthing, and berthing